Hi everyone, my name is Robin. Welcome to my very first video. I did a earlier video, an introductory video to tell everyone what my channel is going to be about. It is about leaving a 30-year relationship and what that journey has been since I left. I was in a long-term marriage and I left with absolutely nothing. And it's been a 5-year journey and I'm still on that journey, but I wanted to share with everyone what it's been like and what I've been going through. When I was going through this, I was looking on YouTube for support and at least some videos to look at, and I didn't find any. So I decided to make my own and start because I don't feel I'm alone. I think there's probably a lot of people out there who have been through what I've been through and just left with absolutely nothing. So this is really about empowerment and strengthening people to follow their path. And so as one life ended, I went through a spiritual awakening and another life began. So I started this channel so I can share, but I'm going to have to build a little backstory. So the channel is really not going to be about bashing my ex, because this channel is about me and what I've been through and how I have healed and I've grown. And I want to support other people who may be on the same journey that I have been on. There are thousands of people who've had to leave long-term situations, especially at my age. So this is just for your support, and I'm sending out good vibes and strength and knowing that you're not alone. You're also not crazy. So I support you and I want to give you a story. So when I left my ex, there were so many videos about the psychology of leaving a traumatic situation, an abusive situation, and a lot of therapists out there and psychologists, but there was no one talking about what they really went through and how they made it happen and how they healed and came out the other side. So this is really about this journey that I've been on. So let me give you a little bit of a backstory. So this video is going to be about the backstory, part of it. So I'm originally from New Jersey, and I was working in Manhattan and living in Hoboken in the mid 80s. I went to NYU. I graduated with a history degree and an art history degree. And so my good friend of mine was married to a Dutchman, and she thought that this man that she met, who was Dutch, would be a great fit for me. So they fixed us up for dinner, and I met my ex in the Columbia on 96th and Broadway in Manhattan in apartment 21A, and it was 1988. I was just 27, and I was there first, and he walked in, and I saw from a distance his spark, his light, his aura, and he just had the happiest face, and it was love at first sight. Sparks went off, rockets went off, and we started our love affair from that moment on. And he was adorable and sweet and kind, and we just fell in love. I was seeing a few other people, dating a few other people, but that soon ended because I had found the man I wanted to be with. And so it was a whirlwind. So he drove me home that night from the dinner, and we started dating, and it was just magical. And 9 months later, he asked me to marry him, and we got engaged, and we were going to get married. And life was wonderful with him, and we had a wonderful relationship, and I fell head over heels in love with him. And so we got engaged, and I moved into his apartments in Battery Park City in Lower Manhattan. And I think my cat moved in before I moved in. So he traveled a lot, and I would take care of all the pets while he traveled. And we had a wonderful apartment on the Hudson River with a magnificent view and a beautiful backyard. And life was wonderful. And so we wound up getting married a couple years later. And we had a lovely, beautiful wedding in Tarrytown, New York. It was a stunning wedding. And we had a wonderful life together. We had our son while we were living in Battery Park City, and then we eventually moved to the Upper West Side, and we had our daughter. and life was good. We had pets, and we had my in-laws living with us. Now, my ex, is originally from the island of Curacao. Curacao is part of the ABC Islands in the Caribbean. So there's Aruba, Bonaire, and Curacao. And his father was a predominant lawyer, very prestigious lawyer on the island. And he was what they know is known in Holland as a notaris, which is the highest form of lawyer. It's like having a PhD in law. And his mother was amazing too. She was a stay-home mom. However, in her 50s, she went back to law school and she became the very first practicing divorce female attorney in the Netherlands Antilles. They were all men before, and she was the first woman to do it, the first female. So both his parents were just amazing, and I loved them dearly. So they lived between Curacao, Amsterdam, and New York, and they were very predominant in our lives, and I really adored them. And we had a very happy life together. It was just, I lived a life that only few can dream of. I lived in style and class in Manhattan, and I traveled the world in first class. And I've met a lot of celebrities, and I've had this life really very few can relate to. But that changed all overnight. And so that's why I'm here telling you that I'm going to share how my life fell apart and how I put my life back together. So my husband then got into these businesses that he really did not know and understand. He didn't really have any background in it, but he thought like, hey, you know what? I'll fake it till I make it, and I'll learn as I go, which is possible for some people. And yeah, it's not impossible. It's very pliable. Absolutely. However, he didn't really want to put in the work, and he decided to be an absentee owner, and he really didn't hire the right people because he didn't know what he was doing. There was just, I think, mismanagement, and that's how most businesses end anyway. So, and his way of putting out fires was to, just throw more money at it. Just throw more money at it, and then eventually the money runs out. And that's exactly happened. So our business money ran out, and then he had to go to the personal money. Well, that ran out. And then one day we had to take mortgages out. That's when I started getting worried. That's when I started panicking. I started panicking because he started, taking personal money, and I really did not want to sign a mortgage, but I had to capitulate because I think it was dire at that point. And I really wasn't given much of a choice. So the lawyers and he kind of like pressured me because so much was at stake if I didn't sign for mortgages. And there was a lot at stake because we had a lot of employees. Well, needless to say, everything fell apart. We lost everything. So the businesses went under. We had to pay off our debtors. However, we didn't have enough money, and we started getting lawsuits. At one point, he didn't want to answer the door because it was always a server, and we had about 50 to 60 lawsuits against us. So we had to, of course, declare bankruptcy, which was horrific. And I know there are people out there who have been in bankruptcy because there's a lot more people who have been in bankruptcy than those who like to admit it. And it was horrific. Our trustee treated us like we were criminals. She was not kind at all. She was vicious to us. And then she also went after my family members that I gave gifts to. And they treated us terribly. And I had to go to depositions in New York City a couple times. And every time I was shaking and I had like a nervous breakdown afterwards. And they treated us like we were criminals and were hiding things. And my ex wasn't any better. He wanted to just tell everyone I knew everything that was going on. Well, no, I really didn't. He did not share everything with me. I mean, I'm not going to defend Mrs. Madoff or Erica Jane, how people like to say, oh, they knew what was going on. They knew everything. Well, there's a high probability they didn't. Entrepreneurial men don't share everything. They do have a penchant to hide things and lie to you, to just sometimes assuage the situation so you don't get angry at them, or they can fix it before you find out. And that was the case with me quite a bit. He wanted to fix it before I found out. And so we lost everything. And so we lost our home in New Hampshire, and the bank wanted to foreclose on our home in New York City. And we did put the house on the market, but the realtor put the price so high on the house that we really had a lot of showings, but we didn't get an offer. So the bank had lost its patience and wanted the house. So they did give us a date for foreclosure and to be out. And we were packing up the house, and we were getting ready to move and everything. We were just coming a week later from when we left. So on February 9th, my husband and I wake up, we have a normal morning breakfast, and we're packing up the house, and the doorbell rings. Well, we always looked out the door just in case it was, another server. Well, this time it was the sheriff's office and the New York City police. And my ex said, "Don't answer the door." And he ran to talk to his, find his lawyer. Well, they bought a locksmith, and the locksmith broke into our house. And next thing I know is a few officers were screaming at us to get out of the house in 1 hour. And that's exactly what happened. And we started panicking and freaking out just a tad, because we had 3 pets, and the puppy we had a Doberman puppy who went into heat that morning. We had an Australian Terrier who was diabetic and going blind, and 2 weeks earlier, the cat was diagnosed with cancer. So we tried to remember to get our personal things, but we mostly remembered getting animal and pet things, because we needed their insulin, and we needed all kinds of stuff for them. Meanwhile, did I remember to take my passport and my birth certificate and my Social Security on my desk? No, I did not remember that. I did remember my laptop, thank God, but I forgot everything else that was really important to take. So I'm shaking and I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to go in my house anymore. But I'm just taking things, I'm thinking in my head, like, we'll be allowed in the house in the next 3 or 4 days. But no, never returned ever again. So then we get into the car with our dogs, and we're in our SUV, and we have nowhere to go. We're literally homeless at this point. And we contact friends of ours who had a house in New Hampshire, and they were going to lend us their house for a few weeks. So we got our bearings. And we're driving around New York, and we're like, wow, we forgot this, we forgot that, we forgot this, and let's go back. Let's call them to see if we can go back and get a few things. Well, I told my ex I can't ever go back in the house again. Plus, I was having a nervous breakdown in the car with the dogs. So he pulls up across the street in front of the house, and we see movers moving our things out, and we see eviction notice on the door, and I just started crying. He went back in the house to get a few things, and then I see down the street my old dog walker coming down the street with some other dogs, and I see him looking at my house and his mouth gaping, like, oh my God, what's happening to them? And he sees the eviction notice. Well, he doesn't see me in the car, and I'm like, oh my God, I can't let him see me. I'm so embarrassed, humiliated, and I'm having a nervous breakdown. So I slink down, and I don't let him see me, and I just see his face, and I'm like destroyed, completely destroyed. I'm completely humiliated. I see him, and I'm like, oh my God, walk by fast, pass me up, go, and I am having just this nervous breakdown. Okay, so we eventually get our stuff out of the house, what we need, and then we are driving to New Hampshire, and we get to New Hampshire, but we do stop for groceries and alcohol, because I need alcohol at the time. So I drank like 2 bottles of wine, I think, that night. Yeah, I had to get numb. And we're staying at a friend's house for 2 weeks, and then we go to another's house for 2 weeks. But then we're going to come back to New York because the cat needed to see the vet, and it was my birthday. And we come in the city, and it's my birthday. February 20th, 21st is my birthday. And my ex has to go out to Long Island to secure our things. And I'm going to take the cat to the vet. Well, I go to the vet, and the cat and the dog, the cat, blah, 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 and the dog, the vet tells me that I should put the cat down. The cat is severely ill and really no chance of surviving, and we can't afford to save this cat anyway. And the cat was 8 years old. So on my birthday, dear Suvi had to be put to sleep, and I was by myself, and I was a wreck. I just lost my home. Now I'm going to lose my cat, who I adored, and I'm by myself. So, needless to say, what state I was in. And oddly enough, on my birthday that year, it's like February and 75 degrees out. Everybody was outside walking without jackets. Well, I decided that I'm going to walk from the village where our vet was up to the Upper West Side where we were staying. I was walking just in a complete fog, and I was numb. And I was in the abyss of depression. And I finally get back to the apartment we're staying at, and I take the two dogs for a walk in the park. And I'm just crying the whole time. I sit on a rock and cry, hug my other dogs. I'm a wreck. Then that night, friends of ours who lived on our street wanted to have a little dinner party for my birthday. Well, the last thing I want to do is go have someone's dinner party for my birthday when I'm in such a pathetic state. So my ex tells me, oh, they worked so hard to get everybody together, and he was right, so I pull my shit together and try to put on a good face, and I go to the house for this birthday party celebration. I get drunk. I drink two big glasses of vodka and get totally shit-faced because I'm a wreck. And I think about it now. It's like, I should have stayed home. I really should have stayed home. But I'm trying hard. I'm really trying hard. I don't want to sit home depressed and be pathetic. And so we leave. I get back home, and I just pass out. Clothes, makeup, just pass out. It was one of the worst days of my life. And I was just surviving and somehow got through that. So we go back to New Hampshire, and my ex suggests we move to Florida. Now, I'm not a fan of Florida. I'm so sorry to say this about those who live in Florida. Please forgive me. I am not a person of heat. I raised a skiing family, and I'm a skier. I like cold weather. I kind of melt in hot weather. And so I was in a complete fog, and I just said yes to everything. I didn't know what to think. I didn't know how to feel. I was completely numb. So, all right, but first let's go visit our daughter out in Denver, who's in school. All this happened when my children weren't living with us anymore. Thank God for that. Thank God that my son had graduated college, and he was living with his girlfriend, and my daughter was in college at the time in Denver. So we left New Hampshire, and we went to visit my girlfriend in Maryland, the one that introduced us. And then off to Denver we went. We had a wonderful time with our daughter. We rented an Airbnb, and we were actually living in hotels at the time when this happened. We stayed on points because we had so many points from over the years we didn't use, so that's how we managed. We stayed at Hampton Inns that accepted dogs. And we drove across the country, had a great time with our daughter, and I was still in trauma and just trying to get through every single day and faking a happy face with my daughter around. I just wanted her to see a strong woman, so I made sure I didn't cry in front of her. I was trying to be the rock, the rock that I always am. And that's kind of like a persona that people know me about. People always say about me, Robin's a rock. Well, I always tell people I am pretty much a rock, but not every day. I also have to pull myself together at times too, especially the trauma that I've been through lately. Years ago. Now I'm getting to the healing part. So then we pack up the dogs in the car, and we're driving across the country to get to our Florida apartment that we rented as April 1. And we get to Nashville, which was great. I had never been to Nashville, and I've always wanted to go, and we had the best time. It was a really fun place. And we got to go to Andrew Jackson's home, the Hermitage, which was always on my hits list, which I wanted to go to. Having a history degree, I do love visiting presidential homes and libraries. So we're there for a couple days, and we get a call from my mom. And my mom tells me that my dad had fallen and broken his hip. And I just felt this wave of course, devastation coming over me again, like, what now can go wrong in my life? So we have to pack up the cars and we have to get to Florida because my father's now in the hospital and he's having surgery. So I'm going to end this video here because I'm going to want you to come back and visit my next video. But I want to always shoot light and love. If you are going through something similar that I have gone through, it does get better. Please don't let any disaster in your life define who you are and who you want to be. You are the author of your own story, and I intend to be the author of mine. And I'm sending you strength and love. Have a good day, and see you soon. Bye.